we thought we'd look at it from the team's perspective, right? It's early, right? We're 2 weeks into the free agent market being open. But who do you think has won the offseason so far? What's one team that's really blown you out of the water with what they've done?
Well, I think it's fun to look at Chicago. Obviously, there's a ton of hype around the Connor Bedard thing, but we talked about them maybe hitting the turbo button on their rebuild with winning that draft pick and getting Connor Bedard. I think they did a great job adding some veteran players around him. You look at Taylor Hall, Donato's a veteran guy. He's not older. Nick Foligno, Corey Perry. These are guys that are going to come in that are good players that have won, that are going to come in, and they're still going to give the ice time to these young guys. They're still going to look to Bedard. We talked about Lucas Reichel last night. They're going to have all these players that they're going to look to give ice time to, these younger guys. But now you're surrounded by veteran guys who have been there and done it, that are in a position. I think Taylor Hall obviously still can play very much so, but you got Foligno and Perry, and obviously they can still play or they wouldn't be there. But those are older guys that are incredible leaders to come in and show these young guys. When I was in Edmonton, when we had the 85 first overall picks and couldn't seem to piece things together, no offense, Halsey, you were one of them. We didn't quite have that. There wasn't really a plan on how to piece it together, which where we were going to go. It was just like we had all these young guys, and they just said, go play. You don't have to earn any ice time. You don't have to learn anything. You're just going to go play. And did they play great? Yeah, they had some great times for sure. But we didn't necessarily have, winners like that. No. Corey Perry and Foligno and Hall and Donato's good young player too around for these young guys. They still got to earn their ice time. Yeah. Otherwise, you don't learn how to win. And unfortunately for us in Edmonton, we were learning how to lose. But these guys have gone and done great. Nuge, Eberle, Hall, they've all gone to places and learned how to win.
Yeah, but this is what, 12 plus years later for a lot of them.
Yes, but now they learned how to win, and now they're coming in, and I think it's a great situation for Chicago. I'm sure they'll make a few other moves, but I do think they're going to have their young guys play more, but now they got a great core of veteran winners around them that are going to show them how to be a professional. I
mean, that's what it's all about. We talk all the time to some of the greatest players ever, and they always talk about the mentors that were there for them, that when they came into the league, like Stamkos always talks about St. Louis, and now other guys talk about Stamkos, and it just the torch keeps getting passed, because you can be as talented as anybody out there, but unless you know how to be a professional, right, and how to put the work in every single day over the course of an 82-game season, that talent might be lost on some people. So I think you're spot on with Chicago doing a good job and providing a good supporting cast to some really bright young stars there for the Blackhawks. Speaking of bright young stars, New Jersey certainly pushed the turbo button on their rebuild, and they were right back in the playoff mix this year and doing some damage with it. That wasn't enough, though. I mean, I really like the fact that they kept Timo, they kept Jesper, they kept Eric Haula, etc. But then they go out and get Tyler Toffoli and Colin Miller as well. What have you made of the way that they've not at all just stood pat, but they've tried to get even better?
Yeah, and obviously there's some pretty big subtractions there as well, but I think they knew that was coming, and they did the best they could do. The Timo Meier signing was a big one. He's a fantastic player, and they gave up a lot for him as well. Bratt's a huge signing. And then the guys they go get as well, that subtraction list was pretty big. But I think this was still a great offseason for them. Instead of taking a step back, they filled in for the guys that they lost. And they're going to be, this is a fast, exciting team, and they got their main core there and added guys that are going to fit in nicely in that situation. And I think it's going to be another fun year for the fans in New Jersey to watch this. I mean, it's so tricky going in the offseason, because you look at the team like New Jersey that had such an incredible season. And if they're looking and they just know these guys are gone, they got to work to go and find these replacements. And I think they did a really good job, re-signing the guys that they had that could stay, that they could afford, and then also getting a couple extra pieces that I think are going to fit in real nicely.
Yeah, I think Tyler Toffoli is a really underrated player. Just the fact that he plays his whole career, I think, to this point, has been in the Western Conference and a lot of it in the Pacific time zone. So I don't know that a lot of people out east necessarily see what he still has, but I think he is a really nice addition.
Absolutely, and he knows how to win. He's been there and he's done that, and on a young team that came in and had a great playoffs and won a round, but you still got to make that next jump.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that comes in and he can teach that whatever that mentality is to take that next step. He's a winner. He's been there. He's done it.
All right, down the turnpike from New Jersey, we have the Philadelphia Flyers, who on paper would be surprising if you say they've won the offseason. But make a case. Why do you think that they've done a good job?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know about winning. I think they've just accepted where they are.
Yeah, they made a mature choice.
At some point, if you're going to blow it up, you got to blow it up. And they've obviously accepted the fact that they're going to hit the reset here and start over. I mean, all those guys, all those subtractions, those are all good hockey players. They're all guys that are very good and can still play. But at some point, those guys have been there for a very long time for the most part, and the success has not been there. So if you're deciding that you're going to hit the reset button, there's no point in going halfway. And you might as well just hit the red button and blow it up. And Danny Briere has obviously decided to do that. He had a lot of great additions there.
Yeah.
You know, same thing. It's not going to turn around next year, I don't think. But it's a start.
Yeah.
And they'll build. And you look at all the teams. You look at Detroit. I mean, Detroit was terrible.
Right.
But Yzerman had a plan. And
the Yzer
every
plan, if you will.
single year they've gotten better, and it's fun to watch. And I think this is the first step for the Flyers.
All right. And then on the other end of the success spectrum, at least in the last few years, you have the Carolina Hurricanes, who didn't make a ton of moves either, although when you put it all together, it does look like a ton of moves. But really their additions were Orlov, Bunting, and Lemieux at this point. And does this tell you that they like overall what they already had that got them to the Eastern Conference Final, or what does their offseason tell you?
Yeah, they have great depth on those teams. So I like Orlov, Bunting, Lemieux additions. You know, not saying anything bad about the guys leaving, but they are older guys. You know, Pacioretty, unfortunately, with injury issues, Steps and Stas. These are older guys. They're still big contributors there, but you know, you're not losing core guys. Those guys might have been there for a year or two more. But they make those additions, and then they have Svechnikov coming back. You know, that would have been, maybe things were different if he didn't get injured at the end of the year. But they have a great core, and everybody that comes in there buys in to Rod Brindamore's policy of how to play hockey. Yeah. And that's why they're consistently great every year. And they just got to tinker and find that. What is it? They're so close. They're so
very close.
And what is it? So I think they did a good job bringing in some good players without going crazy, because they got a really good thing going there.